Okay, I
Okay.
am in conversation with Sahar Zaman. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Sahar
There's
Zaman.
Zama.
Zama. Okay.
Zama. Yeah.
Zama. Okay. She is an award-winning television journalist, and she is the grandniece of the legendary Talat Mahmood Sahab, the very legendary Talat Mahmood Sahab, who has a plethora of songs, and she's written a book on her granduncle, and it's called Talat Mahmood: The Definitive Biography. And I'm very happy to speak to her. I read the book, and there are so many songs that you take you somewhere. I think they take you all. And the beauty of the book, I felt, was Sahar, was it also records the history of the partition of India and artists, what it does to the artists, and how they carry that emotion throughout their journeys of wherever they move from and where they settle. So here we are talking in short
Right.
of Lucknow, of course. We're also talking about Bengal, and then we're talking about Mumbai, the large
Of
three major
course.
parts of his story. So first,
Yeah.
I want you to tell me, when did you start writing, and how did you think of all this process of writing a book on your granduncle?
Um, but before that, first of all, Manju, thank you so much for having me on your platform and sharing this time and space with me. So thank you very much for that. Um, the idea for the book came to me actually 2 years ago in 2022.
Hmm.
Because as journalists we always think of the right time and the timing and how it will be pegged in the news. It just becomes second nature. So
Yeah.
I just suddenly realized that 2024, which is this year, is going to be his centenary year, 100 years.
Wow.
And I thought to myself that if I really want to do this, I should start right away in 2022 without wasting more time, because by the time I write it and get down to publishing, promotions, planning, all of that, it's going to be about 2 years.
Hmm.
So I wanted to match time with 2024. So and actually it took me a year to write a book, but the entire process of uh, because I decided to go ahead without a publisher, I went ahead with the route of independently publishing it and doing a direct to publish with Amazon, Kindle, and Notion Press. I also had to plan a lot in terms of uh, promotions, in terms of design, layout. I had to plan all of that as well. So that took another uh, 6 months, 8 months to plan. So the whole project actually took 2 years. So that way, I'm really lucky that the window of time that I had of 2 years worked out really well. Talat Mahmood has, of course, always been on my mind, but professionally, in terms of this was a, a, a side hustle, in terms of it was just a labor of love, because I felt so strongly about his story and about his talent and about his contribution to our films and music, that I started a tribute concert in 2017.
Yes.
So when I started that, and then I started researching about his career much more than I knew, because I knew him as my Nana ji, my Mamu Nana, who stays in Bombay. I knew him as, of course, as an artist and a very significant voice. But the kind of research that I got into, in terms of uh, very technical research that one is used to doing as a journalist. So
Right.
that started in 2017 when I started doing these concerts, these tribute shows. And I realized that there's so much more to his personality and his contribution that doesn't fit in a 3 hour concert. So the next natural step to me seemed the book, and the timing was very important.
Yeah. Interesting, because my book, which is going to be, it's gone to the printers, as you know, called "I Did It My Way," is a story on Mr. Rajan Lal, who was a Bollywood producer and is based in Dubai. He's a businessman. He grew up with
Right.
a lot of Bollywood stars, and in one of the pictures, I remember there is a picture of your granduncle that I published. It is there in the book, and I'll send it to you. It'll be nice to see, because Mr. Talat Mahmood had come to his parents' home for a concert. The family
Yeah.
used to host a lot of stars in Bombay, and one picture is there of your granduncle. So it's quite interesting to see.
Oh,
Yes,
lovely.
yes.
Which year would that be around? Which decade are
It
we
should be
looking?
around, I think, 1955.
Oh,
Around 55, 55, yeah, around 55, 56.
yeah. So
50 to 90.
that's the peak of
That's the
his
peak of his life.
stardom
Yeah.
and his
Yes,
career.
yes, yes, yes. So that is around that time. So it'll be, because a lot of these biographies, I feel, are so pertinent today. because we as a generation still remember our grandparents. But if today's
Yeah,
generation not even remember what was it during the partition of India, what happened, we still have
true.
access. We still had the access to stories told by them, met them, spoken to them. But today's
Yes,
generation
yes,
can only read about them, right? So there is a difference. And it's also the journey of an artist from different parts of, from different parts of India and finally arriving to this place called, that we call Bollywood,
right.
of course, in the Hindi film industry. But he didn't restrict himself to
Yeah.
one industry. He's been across 17 languages. I think he sang at
Yes, he sang in 16 languages,
languages.
and I think that that confidence came because of starting out in Calcutta. Because
That
before
was not his
independence,
mother
our
tongue.
showbiz. Sorry.
Bengali wasn't his mother tongue. He started out singing in
Not at all. He had to learn it right from scratch, and but because Calcutta in British India was where the showbiz
Bangla.
industry was, there, there were three centers. There was Calcutta, Pune, and Lahore under the British map. So these were the three centers where you had the showbiz industry. And from Lucknow, his birth town, where he studied music and he got the essence of all the Urdu shairi and started ghazals for the
Right.
All India Radio there. He went to Calcutta, and there, after he recorded his ghazals, he was told by the great Pankaj Malik of the new theaters that now that since you're here and your voice sounds very sweet, you have to sing in Bengali as well. So he learned the language from scratch. But I think because his Bengali career was such a hit, it was a runway hit right from the start, that gave him the confidence to do other languages as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, he's also sung in Malayalam. And it's such a tongue twister for somebody from up north singing in Malayalam.
Yes, I mean, South Indian languages in Telugu as well as Malayalam. So
Yeah.
in Malayalam, he had, in fact, one of the top hits of the 1970s. And in Telugu, I was so fortunate to speak to another legendary singer. Her name is P. Sushila. Sushila ji is known as the Nightingale of South India, the Lata Mangeshkar of South India, and she's still around. She's in her 90s, but very, very sharp mind. And there's a lovely chapter in my book where I speak to her, and she talks to me about behind the scenes of how Talat practiced Telugu, and she was stumped on how he's singing with such a local flavor, such an accent, because Telugu is considered one of the toughest
Language.
languages of India. So yeah,
Fabulous.
he managed that as well.
Also, he was a looker. He wasn't just a playback singer. He was very good looking.
Absolutely. You,
He
you can see
acted.
you can see this picture. Oh
Yes.
my God.
And he acted. He's also acted in several films.
Yes, he acted as the main lead, as the hero, as you say, in cinema in about 13 films, and his co-stars were the topmost of that time. He acted with Nutanji, Mala Sinha, Shama, Suraya. He had a Silver Jubilee hit with Suraya, so he did well in that as well. But strangely enough, all the time he maintained that I'm a singer first, and he stopped acting after 13 films. It's very unheard of in cinema because a lot of people come in with dreams of being the hero first, and
Yes.
they try that out first. And if that doesn't work, then they be a director, producer, or they do something else behind the scenes. But here was a person who literally had to be pulled in front of the camera by his directors and producers because they used to notice his female fan following was huge amongst the singers. And for a singer who always stays behind the scene, it was not seen to have such a female fan following. So the film director said, "What are you doing behind the camera? You need to be in front."
Right.
So if you see his early films, like maybe his debut film in Hindi, which was Dil Nadan
Hmm.
in 1953, you can notice that he's very shy and hesitant, but gradually he kind of opens up. And
Yeah.
I think one of his best performances was with Nutan in Soni Ki Chidiya, where he
Hmm.
also experiments a bit and plays a negative role. That was
Yeah.
really nice.
He's the one who runs away, right? Uh,
He's the one who runs away. My God, what a charming man, and what an unimaginable thing to do.
But I also remember the small incident that you narrate about Suraya ji and him, where they were filming this wedding scene, and he very uncharacteristic of him to say that if he completed the seven feras, then we'll be married. So
I know that was very flirtatious, and she enjoyed it. And she said, "My God, at least you've said something because you just don't speak."
right, right. Okay, also tell me the importance of biographies today. It's so important that these biographies are written, narrated, spoken. How do you see the importance of biographies in today's literature?
So I can answer this through reviews that I've read of my book. A lot of journalists, like one of our very prominent journalists and author herself, Satya Saranji, she wrote this in her review on my book, saying that we're very glad that and grateful that Seher has written a book which is important in telling a chapter of our cinematic history.
Mm,
I couldn't have looked at it that way, because for me, I was writing an important story, and a life story.
mm,
And, and as a journalist, I'm not used to looking at things in isolation. So I brought in the context in where his life was based, the time period that we're looking at, and the politics surrounding, and the market of showbiz. All of that, I put that in context and wrote. And a lot of things, a lot of the chapters ended up being a slice of history
mm.
in that process of telling his personal and professional story. So I got that insight when I read these reviews on my book, saying that the golden era and the build up to the golden era, pre-partition, post-independence, that entire process, and then the evolution of our film industry as a market,
Mm, mm.
and the ethos basis which the golden era artists wanted to make these films, wanted to make these songs, and do their absolute best, because they were creating something for a new nation, that passion that
Right.
drove them. So I think that is the importance of biographies which look at that large span, because of where his life was placed in
Mm,
time. So we're looking at his birth in 1924, and
mm.
then his young years, young professional life, which goes through independence, 1947. Then we move to our golden era, and then we move to the time of the 1970s, where music patterns change, where
Change. Mm,
it's influenced by rock music, Beatles and Elvis Presley. Then we go through that evolution and technical evolution in the 1980s, when stereo sound came in.
mm,
So
mm.
he was the first singer to re-record his songs that he recorded in the 1940s. He was the first singer to re-record them in stereo sound in the 1980s.
Okay.
So the evolution of technology as well. So it takes in along itself a huge chunk of time,
Yeah.
which I think becomes a great story to tell. A great piece in which we can really study what great artists did, and a lot of our music and film industry is resting on their shoulders today for what they did.
No, it's amazing because he was very adaptable, right? It was not just, also you speak about
Right.
versions. You speak about versions in your very mildly put versions, which is actually someone else dubbing
Yes.
the song. But I didn't know it was such a phenomena even then, because you think of it as a recent phenomena of the last maybe 20 years.
Yes.
But it was apparently
Yeah.
so common then as well, and it would have really killed
It
art.
started out.
Hmm,
Right. It started out because music labels wanted to do that. And then it stopped in the middle. It started out in the 60s, and then it stopped in the middle because the singers were very upset, because they had great relationships with each other and
right.
they didn't want this friction between each other. So it stopped because the singers were so upset, because they
They had
didn't
a
know of this
camaraderie.
happening behind the scenes.
And
They
they had
had that kind of camaraderie. So then it stopped. But nowadays, I've read about current singers talking
mm,
about it, that not just two
mm,
versions of the same song, you have eight versions of one song.
right,
So
right,
it's at a nightmarish level nowadays.
right, right. No, it's interesting that we also talk about right from the, if you're looking at the Hindi film industry, the music there, we actually start talking about how he mourns the death of KL Saigal Saab. And then how he was his spiritual guru in a way. He never trained under him, but he always
Yes,
followed him. So, and all the
I
great
know.
names have been part of that journey. So, anything that he's spoken to you
Absolutely.
directly, did you speak to him directly about things? Because you were a teenager when he passed away?
Yes. No, I didn't speak to him as a journalist,
Okay.
but I knew so many of the stories,
Yeah.
family stories behind the scenes. He would speak to me in what do you like singing and what have you sung and that kind of stuff.
What would you sing
But
for
no,
him?
yeah, I didn't have a chance to speak to him as a journalist, but there was still a lot of stories in the family that I knew of,
Hmm.
which have for the first time come out in the book.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what would you sing to him when he asked you to sing? Any of his songs or any song that he?
Yes, definitely. There's this song that I feel so strongly because of the lyrics, and it's one of his cult film song and ghazals. It's called Phir Wahi Sham,
Mm.
with Madan Mohanji, with the music, and the lyrics are just so gorgeous. And there's this stanza um, in which he sings. I'll just sing a bit. जाने अब तुझसे मुलाकात कभी हो के ना हो जो अधूरी रही वो बात कभी हो के ना हो मेरी मंजिल तेरी मंजिल से बिछड़ आई है फिर वही शाम. So I feel very strongly about this because जाने अब तुमसे फिर मुलाकात हो ना हो, because when I was writing the book he was actually with me. I felt him so strongly, and he was in my head and sitting with me and urging me to move in all these different directions, to do so much research on this
So
phenomenal
good.
life. So this song kept coming back to me.
Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Also, when I was reading the book, I had his music in the background. I heard all his songs.
Yes, that's how it should
When
be.
yes,
Lovely.
you get into the mood of even getting into that space of his, and his voice had this vibrato. Is that how you pronounce it?
Vibrato, yeah, vibrato.
Vibrato.
Yes.
It had this lovely sonorous, but a little, it's very unique to him, right? And he tried to shun it for
Yeah.
a while, but he decided, no, this is what God has given me. I will continue to sing like this. So tell me about that incident.
So this is I spoke to Shikha auntie, who is Anil Das' daughter, Anil Biswas ji's daughter, and it was of course it was a very unique quality, and no one has had it after him, and no one's been able to replicate it, which is why no one can sing like him. I mean. A lot of singers can sing like our other greats, but Talat Mahmood they find very difficult to replicate. So when he entered the industry in Calcutta, it was a straight runaway hit because it was appreciated. But after independence, when he shifted to Bombay and the film industry was shifting to Bombay, and everyone knew about him and his voice, and Tapan Kumar, he used to sing
Yes, that
Bengali
was the
songs
name.
in the
That
name
was
of
the name.
Tapan Kumar, and he sang his ghazals in the name of Talat Mahmood. So everyone had heard him when he entered Bombay, but strangely they didn't want the vibrato. It was a very strange problem that suddenly occurred, and it took him aback because he thought, if people don't like my voice, I'll have to start from scratch. I've done years of my career in Calcutta, and suddenly I have to start from scratch. So it was Anil Biswas who said that. Do not straighten your voice because it has this unique quality, and you and I will make sure that this becomes your USP.
Mm.
And that was the foresight of the great man of
Yeah.
Anil Biswasji, who was
Him be.
who's known as the Bhishma Pitama
Mm.
of Indian music, because he cracked this formula of mukhra antara and using a 20-piece orchestra. So I think the vibrato, that which is only usually in opera singers, which is a trained quality for opera singers. So I think because he used that huge orchestra, I have a feeling
Mm.
that he liked that
Mm.
operatic quality of a vibrato in Talat Mahmood's voice. So then
Mm.
they recorded their first song, which became a huge hit that also started the partnership of
Mm.
Dilip Kumar and Talat Mahmood. "ए
Yes.
dil mujhe
Ah,
aisi jagah"
yeah.
for
And
Arzu.
And that itself is a beautiful thing, because I think among all the songs that there's also a mention of that in the book about Dilip Sab and him and their close association,
Yes,
friendship, and the song that
yes.
Dilip Sab would use for his life, where he his if there was there was a song that would define his life, that is Talat Mahmood song. Let us know about that song.
Yes, he said that I have so many songs with Mukesh ji and Mohammad Rafi Saab, and they've given me such phenomenal hits. But I feel, I mean, and this is recorded on a video interview where Dilip Kumar says that Talat Mahmood was the voice of my soul. You know, he was my musical soul,
Hmm.
and and temperamentally also they were very similar. They had similar tastes in Urdu poetry. They had similar soft-spoken,
Yes.
soft voices.
Hmm.
I mentioned in my book that Talat Nana had said that when when he sang for Devdas,
Hmm.
so a lot of, especially the song Mitwa,
Hmm.
a lot of people felt that it's Dilip Kumar singing. So that Talat Mahmood said was the biggest compliment in my life, you know,
That you don't know the
for
singer
someone
from
to
the
think that it's the great actor
song.
himself singing, yeah, to gel that well into his
Yeah,
personalities.
amazing. And he did a lot of tours. I saw that he toured the world, and there was so much of global fandom that he had. And I believe he also came to Dubai
Yeah,
in 1983 to the Al Nasser Leisureland, which had about 10,000,
yeah,
11,000 people. So I was looking for a Dubai reference and suddenly saw one. So I'm happy that in 19, I'll look for someone
right.
here who probably were part of the concert in 1983, because Al Nasser
I
Leisureland
know.
is an o- is a venue, but I never knew it opened in that year, and this concert
Yeah,
there.
right, right. So, and because he was, I mean, there was a huge following of his ghazals and Indian music, but he was the one to tap it first because in the course of the research of my book, I spoke to a lot of people who were part of his concert team. So, and he was the first Indian playback singer to start world tours. And he did that in the peak of his career in 1956. And he did it at a time when his colleagues said, don't do it right now because you leave the studio and you'll be traveling for 2 months, 3 months. Your
Hmm.
film shoots will stop, your song recordings will stop, and someone else will just step into that vacuum and take over. So don't do it right now. But he felt very strongly about the Asian diaspora and the NRIs who were outside and who missed home and who wanted to listen to music from the homeland. And he cracked this tour for the first time in 1956, which is with his concert manager. So his concert manager is still around. Can you believe
Oh,
it?
lovely.
And he's 93 years old. And I spoke to him, and he told me such exclusive details, which even I had not heard in my family.
Okay.
He told me details of the first concert tour they did to East Africa and how trains were stopped in between,
Wow.
something which a city which was not in his itinerary, and the train was stopped and not allowed to go any further because that city was upset that why aren't you performing here. So his trains were stopped and he was asked to perform there and then, and that same evening before moving ahead to another venue. So it was pretty crazy. I mean, it used to be packed, wherein which he could not enter the stage backstage himself, so they had to call in choppers and mount horses to clear up the place for him to enter the stage. So some very great details, and
It's
how he
interesting,
extended this
right?
further,
Because
of course.
we're talking about the 1950s, if I'm not wrong, right? We're talking about the 50s.
Yes, yes,
India has just won its independence. There is a new country in the making. The prime minister,
right,
the cabinet, everything is new. We are all in the hands of
right. We've just had our first
first
elections, upper
election.
house, lower
and
house,
and
parliament.
then and
Absolutely.
then we have this this deluge of art and artists who are
Right,
now also displaced because India and Pakistan have had a partition, and the family also went through a partition of its own kind because of
right,
the family being split. But then artists have no
right.
boundaries and no borders. They are everywhere. They are loved in every part of the world. And there is a
Absolutely.
reference to him going to Pakistan as well and reconnecting to his roots. So tell me about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, not roots exactly, but because
But
roots were
yeah,
in
his
Lucknow,
family,
but reconnecting with his brother who went
brother's
there,
family, yeah.
and
It's into gardening.
reconnecting with his
Yeah.
Sorry?
Who was into gardening, right? His brother really liked
No, his father was into gardening.
gardening.
His brother left, and the father was very upset.
That
Who
who
was
looked
also into
after.
gardening. I'm sorry. Thanks for thank you for jogging
Yes, I've
that
read
back
the
on me.
book.
Yes, who
I've
was
read
also
it.
who I know who he had a green thumb, and Talat Nara's father was very upset that his only son who could take care of his garden in Lucknow and who had a
Yes.
green thumb is moving to Pakistan because Talat could not handle the plants.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, right. But it's
So
beautiful.
yes, they met in the 60s, and this is after 1947. He
Yeah.
went for the first time in the 1960s to meet his brother. It was a personal trip, but it turned into a trip where everyone
Special.
got after him to do a few shows, and EMI, the music label, wanted to do a special evening with him, and
And he was
there
asked
were
to stay back.
young singers.
He was asked to stay
Huh?
back. He was asked to stay
He was
back.
asked to stay back.
By
Yes,
who
the
all?
very young singer Mehdi Hasan Saab couldn't get inside the venue for his concert.
Yeah.
Noor Jahan offered him a blank check to stay back. So a lot of crazy things happened there.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Also, yes, we have about 10 minutes now. So if there is anything you'd like to play that we can share with the Dubai audiences, we'd like to play now. Is there anything from Mirza? You wanted to play something from Mirza Ghalib?
I
Is it?
mean, sure. I mean, I'm sure people are still listening to Mirza Ghalib poetry. And I always tell people that if you want to learn how to speak poetry best, just listen to Talat Mahmood.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
So, I mean, just listen to Mirza Ghalib, his songs from the film Mirza Ghalib, which is with Suraya and Bharat Bhushan. There is, of course, Dil-e Nadan. Dil-e Nadan tujhe hua क्या है आखिर इस मर्ज की दवा क्या है.
Amazing. There's so much to talk because it's again decades and decades of musical legacy. We're trying to fit this
There's a
in
lot of
40
history.
minutes. I am trying my best to do what I can. But also about Asha ji, Lata ji, Kishore da, Mukesh Saab, all of them. Like he's almost like oh, he was contemporary to Mukesh Saab, right? If you look at it, or he
They
was
were all their contemporaries. Asha Tai was younger to him.
younger.
Asha Tai and Kishore Da were younger,
Younger.
but Mohammad Rafi Saab, Mukesh Ji, Lata Didi, all his contemporaries.
And he was very shaken by the death of Mohammad Rafi Saab. There is a picture in the book of the funeral.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean he bent down to kiss
Kiss
his
his
mortal
forehead.
remains and said that the music world and the world needs his voice more than me. I should have gone away instead of him. So yeah, that's a very poignant moment, and it's also a testimony to what great relationships they all shared. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Mukesh ji was one of his closest friends, along with Lata Didi, who stood by him when he started the royalty rights battle
Yes, that
in
was
uh, in uh,
yeah.
yes, that was in 1960s in a professional capacity when he was the secretary of the Playback Singers Association. So he did the first protest in the film industry where his friends joined in for the sake of playback singers getting royalty rights. And and with that protest, studios were shut for 3 months, recordings didn't happen. So it was something that left the industry shaken. Of
Hmm.
course, the protest broke away because a lot of people left and then didn't realize if this is really going to pull through. But in my mind, it was the first important step that
Hmm.
singers took in that direction.
And you wouldn't expect him to be
So,
an activist, but he was.
yeah, I mean that's what I write in my book, and it's so lovely to hear you speak because you've read it so fast in such detail, and you've really picked up the nuances of what my observations have been. Because he was an extremely charming personality. I mean, he was literally dripping with charm. His smile and his voice, when you hear it, when he sings, it's all about charm. It's all about love and charm. And you won't think that he would take these steps and steps that can be unpopular to some, and steps that can be seen as very stern or look at him as an activist or a rebel,
Mm.
But again, I think it is because of his charm that he got away with it as well.
Yes.
He
He
didn't
put it to
ruffle
good
too
use.
many feathers for too long.
He put it to good
He
use.
took along people with.
Yeah. Right. Also, tell me, where can people read the book? How can they order it? A little bit about people who want to pick
Well,
up.
now it's available worldwide. In India, Notion Press is handling its printing and distribution. And internationally, it's Amazon. It's Amazon.in as well. The hardcover version has just been launched, so it's on Amazon. It's on Flipkart. So it's being distributed worldwide now.
Hope to see you in Dubai sometime soon, maybe for the Emirates Lit Fest. The Sharjah Book Fair just got over. Maybe some other
Right.
event in Dubai, because I'm sure there is.
Absolutely,
And you should do it
absolutely.
at
I'll
the
keep
Al
trying.
Nasser Leisure Land. It'll be nice to have an event.
Yes, we should go back to that. That'll be lovely. Yes, I'll keep trying because there's so many people who write into me from Dubai saying that there's so many fans of his who still listen to his music who would
Like to
like
call him,
to know about the book and
book
hear
about
about
it,
the
get
book.
you to
Yeah.
it. So what you do with a concert? Is that a people singing all his songs and you curate it? How is the Jashn Talat concert? If you just can explain it quickly.
Right. So Jashn Talat, as the name suggests, is a celebration of Talat, and it's a concert series wherein which I curate it in a manner in which I make sure that there is youth involvement as well. So the start of the concert is with young singers who sing his songs. And then it goes into established singers coming on stage, singing his ghazals and songs. It involves dance. We have a lot of established Kathak artists like Shobna Narayan ji, Raghav Rajbhat, Vidhalal, who've all participated in doing their Kathak dance on his original soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have some young artists who also do live portraiture of his while the
Okay.
performances
Live
are going on. They're
performance.
painting live portraits,
Mm-hmm.
and the book has now been adapted into a theater play as well. So that's also been
Oh,
added into the Jashn Talat repertoire. Yeah.
okay.
So we have our veteran theater director Sohaila Kapur ji.
Okay.
So she read the book and she said, I just have to adapt it into a play. So
Shekhar
it's
Kapoor sings,
already in the
right?
form of a play.
That's Shekhar Kapoor.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Hope to see you in Dubai soon. And it was wonderful chatting with you. This interview does no justice to your book, but I've tried my best to
Oh,
put everything together.
but you've picked up such lovely nuances and
Thank you.
really kind of internalized the
Yes,
essence
of
of the book.
course.
So thank
No,
you.
I look for these things because I think a book needs, this is the insight that you as a writer have towards this personality who's also a very public figure and also a very personal relationship with him. So thank you very much.
Right.
Good luck for the book, and I hope to see you in Dubai sometime soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Shukran, Habibi.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
Bye.